Now what we're going to do is install this Aquael Glossy aquarium. So the first thing we've done is put a background on the back of the tank just so you can't see the cords and stuff. Then we'll go hook the filters up, get it all nice and running, because they've got an old tank that they're condensing down into a nice new modern fish tank. So here's the old tank, and we're currently going to transfer the fish. There is some fish in here, and set up the nice new modern tank, which is going to suit the newly renovated lounge room and kitchen area. Some lovely big clown loach, silver dollar, and who knows what else we're going to find in here. So now we've pumped some water out of the old tank and put it in the new tank, and it's a little bit discolored, which is very common because water gets what's called a Gilvan tint in it from biological activity. So we're going to put a bit of activated carbon into the filter, and that will clear this water up cosmetically better. So now we've just got some new fish to go in this tank. Striped silver dollar, some really nice angelfish, and some catfish. Just put a bit of decoration in the tank. It's got the heater in it now. So now I'm just transferring the old filter material from the old big filter into the new filter. We've opted to go with the smaller filter because it's much easier to get in and out, and it will still be amply big for the new tank and won't be as heavy or cumbersome as that one for a smaller aquarium. We're also going to wash some carbon and put some carbon in the new filter just to clear the water up. The video keeps going on to slow-mo for some reason. Anyway, we have taken water out of this fish tank to fill up the new tank, and we've also removed some of the gravel and given it a bit of a clean in water from the tank and put that in the new tank. So there's some good bacteria in the gravel to get this new tank biologically started. So here's the old carbon, and it's really important you replace carbon at least every couple of months. Otherwise, all the crap it collects, it actually re-releases back into the water. Now, I really prefer to use polyfilter than carbon because the polyfilter will remove organics without removing anything good from the water and will never release what it's collected. But for colour, Gilvan tint or driftwood tint, I tend to go for carbon. And the combination of carbon and polyfilter is definitely my go-to. The polyfilter good for accumulants and so forth, and the carbon good for the best for the water clarity. So I'm now going to give the carbon a bit of a wash, and I'm going to throw this carbon out, and I'm going to give the bag a good wash too, because quite often the carbon will be in a bag that's so bloody dirty that it's not effective. So giving the bag a good wash, chucking out the carbon, giving the new carbon a good wash, and whacking it in the bag, and then I'm good for the next couple of months to clear up my water. So this carbon's actually pretty clean. So what I've done is just put it in this bag, giving the bag a bit of a wash, giving the carbon a bit of a wash. It's not too bad. Now with these Aquarel filters, they're very good filters, but make sure you never forget to clean this. There's a pre-filter here that needs a clean, and I find it's a very easy thing to forget. Now a really simple but clever feature of these Aquarel filters that I sort of appreciate is the way that you can put them on any angle and they still line up, and it's just another thing you don't have to think about. You can just whack them on and know that it's going to line up without putting it in wrong. Any of these little things that make it no-brainers are very handy. I appreciate it. Now you want to make sure underneath any canister filter, you want to put a drip tray. So a drip tray is just a little kitty litter tray or whatever fits, just to collect the water, just in case you dribble a little bit of water into the tank. Now when you're setting up a canister filter, try not to have the inlet of the canister too close to the air stone. Otherwise it can suck bubbles in and end up getting bubbles in your thing. And if that is the case, you'll get micro bubbles shooting out of here, which is not ideal, but not the end of the world. So the air pump's hooked up now. The air pump's got check valves heading to the air stones. It's really important that we have air for our oxygen, and then we want our filter to agitate the surface, because the filter will often actually take oxygen out of the water. So you want to have something for aeration and you want something for filtration. When decorating an aquarium, having things hollow is the best thing for the fish. The fish just love somewhere that they can duck away and feel safe. Also, it takes up physical space without taking up too much water volume. So hollow ornaments are really the key. And if you are going to go with the fake ornaments, one of the best things you can do is when it starts getting algae all over it, if you don't have enough catfish to keep it clean, then either just turn the lights out for a while, and a bit of a blackout period will stop algae, or get your decorations out, throw them in the sun, leave them for a day, turn them over, leave them for a day, hit them with the hose, and that dries up the algae and often makes them look good as new. It's good to give the canister a clean about once a month in water from the fish tank, not water from the tap. And every couple of months you want to make sure you replace your carbon and replace your poly filter when it turns black. So now we've turned the filter on. So it's pumping out some micro bubbles, which is normal. And it's really important not to feed the fish for the next couple of days. Because there's no live plants in the tank, keeping the lights on a minimal amount of time is going to be a good idea. And keeping an eye on pH, KH, GH for general interest. But particularly in a new tank, keeping an eye on ammonia and nitrite while the bacteria is establishing in the filter is a very good thing. And then over time, keeping an eye on the nitrate will give you some indication to how often you should be doing water changes. And when you're doing your water changes, you want to really be using a gravel cleaner. It cleans the gravel while we're doing the water change. And if we're removing about 1/4 of the water once a month, that's typically about right. But the more fish you have, the more you should be water changing. These angels sure are beautiful. They're wild caught from Peru. Now, fish keeping is 50% about water quality and 50% about nutrients. So I'm not a fan of flakes, but if I was going to buy flakes, these would be the flakes that I'd get, the Spectrum flakes. And then this is the Spectrum Thera A, which is a very good food. I tend to go with the probiotics though for the New Life Spectrum, but this is an extremely high quality food. Now, setting up a timer is one of the best things you can do for your lights. So to set up a timer, it's super easy. The first thing you do is just set the time that it currently is. Then you push down these when you want the light to be on. And we really want, for a tank like this, we really want the light on when we're likely to be watching the fish. So if we know that we're at work, if there's no live plants in this tank at the moment, if there was, we'd want about 6 or 8 hours a day light. If there is not, depending on the plants, if there's not live plants in the tank, we really want the light on minimal amount of time. So if we're at work, we want the light off. If we're asleep, we want the light off. If we're likely to be enjoying the tank, we want the light on. And if we do get increased algae, we want to reduce the light time or even turn it off for a while, considering there's no live plants. Since this is a new tank, it wouldn't be a bad idea to bring a sample of the water and a little video of the tank running down to the shop within the first few days, definitely within the first week. That way we can have a look at the way the fish are swimming around. We can have a look at the water flow. We want to see that the pump's pumping nicely. And also the thermometer, checking the temperature. So having a So this heater at the moment is saying that it's heating the water up because the bubbles are going up, the lights are going up. When that goes steady, that means that the temperature should be right, but it is good just to have a second thermometer to check the temperature. So the heater will give us a very good indication, but I do like to have an actual thermometer as well, just to check that the thermostat on the heater is correct. And then adding a good bacteria supplement is really not a bad idea, because that'll just help to make sure that the bacteria is establishing. In this case, I'm assuming it'll be fine because we left the good bacteria in the gravel and we had some cured media in the filter. But new fish have been added and a fair bit's been done in reference to setting up this tank. So just keeping an eye on the levels would be a very good idea. Checking the pH, GH, KH. All of the additives are present. So if the GH or KH was too high, we'd want to do a water change and not add GH or KH. If the GH or KH is too low, we'd want to add GH or KH. And then we want to monitor that that level's actually right. And as far as the pH is concerned, I never use pH up in Sydney because Sydney tap water tends to have a high pH, and we did put some tap water in here with some water ager. So the KH tends to be low. So I tend to use KH to raise pH, because if you use pH products, then the presence of any acids will drop the pH again. Whereas if you use KH products for your pH, then the pH tends to stay up. So it tends to stabilize it. So the filtration's good, the aeration's good. Just bringing a sample of water down to the shop and a little video. And in the video, one of the things we're looking for is the way the fish are swimming. Because what we don't want to see is gasping, where they're breathing really heavily. That would indicate they're stressed. We don't want to see a lot of erratic movement, particularly when they're settled in. And we don't want to see flicking and scratching. If they're flicking and scratching, then that often means they've got white spot. If they do get white spot, which white spot's super common, first thing you'll do is take the carbon out of the filter, carbon, polyfilter, anything like that, take it out of the filter, and then medicate with some white spot cure. Another thing about white spot cure is Murphy's Law. It's really a good idea to have some white spot cure in the cupboard, because for some reason, if you have it, you never need it. But if you don't have it, somehow you need it when you just can't get to the shop, or the shop's out of stock, or there's some problem, or you're about to go away on holidays. And white spot cure is one of those things where you want to find out why they got the white spot, which is normally some stress-related cause. Then you want to dose it straight away because it's super effective. But if you don't dose it straight away and you let it seed in and it gets worse and worse, and you can actually even lose fish. So having some white spot cure on hand is a really good thing, as is like a bacterial, like Malafix or something like that, for any bacterial infection. It's not a bad thing to have on hand, because it is the case where if you have it, then that's when you tend to not need it. There's also a spare heater, which is a great thing to have, because that's another thing that if you've got a spare heater, you probably never need it. And there is a spare air pump, which is also a wonderful thing, because once again, when you have spares, you don't need it. And if you don't have spares, somehow you need it. Go figure.
I just saw what's...
No, I think it is a powerful owl.
Yeah, I think it is. Oh, wait, I'm going to see it from the back side.
Look, you should see his eyes through here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Doing a fair lot.
I can't see white spots. I don't think that's a powerful owl.
James, I'm sure it's a powerful owl, because come and look at this.
I don't think it's a powerful one.
James, come and look. It's a powerful owl.
It is, James.
Yeah, you got to see what I'm looking at.
It's definitely a powerful owl. You can see it better through that camera. Oh, yeah. Alright, can I... Oh, yeah, that's a powerful owl. Oh, is it about to poop? Bring it to me. I will expect it to poop.
Hoot, hoot.
Hey.
There he goes. Where'd it go to?
Over there.
Good spotting, Emily.
Yeah. Do you see it fly over?
I think it's gone now.